Ms. Jannat, we are live. The floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I am Jannat Ahmed, and I'm the head of Human Resources at Women Ascension. And it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all for today's uh, Women Ascension mentorship session titled People First Building Healthy Workplace Culture in Startups. And today's session represents the heart of what Women Ascension stands for, and it's creating spaces where professional growth meets authentic connection and empowerment. And we are truly fortunate to have with us Mr. Natasha Lloyd. She's a multifaceted leader whose work embodies the innovative spirit we hope to nurture. Ms. Natasha is an economist, a financial literacy advocate who has dedicated her career to democratizing economic knowledge, um, particularly for young people who are navigating investments, savings, and also economic trends. So her entrepreneurial journey includes co-founding Whispering Bloom, a thoughtful gifting business, and establishing the African Glow, an online boutique celebrating luxury fashion. Through her NGO Models for Change Foundation, she also champions social impact initiatives that are close to her heart. And looking ahead, Ms. Natasha also aspires to become a capital market ambassador in Zambia, further extending her influence in economic empowerment. So, in today's session, Ms. Natasha will share not just her knowledge, but also practical and actionable strategies that can be implemented in in your current or future roles to foster cultures, workplace cultures where people truly thrive. And following her talk, we'll open the floor for what I'm sure will be a rich and illuminating question and answer session. And I encourage you all to note down your questions till then. So now, please, all of you, join me in extending a warm and enthusiastic welcome to our distinguished speaker, Ms. Natasha Lloyd. Ms. Natasha, we are eager to learn from your experiences and wisdom. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much for having me, and I am excited to be part of this and just facilitate this learning today. So, as I've already been introduced, and no need for introductions. I'm so happy. So for all those who have questions, like earlier stated, you can note them down and will be answered at the end of the session. All right, so people first, what comes to mind when you are running a small startup business and they're talking about people first? Of course, you have a smaller workforce as a startup, of you have maybe less than 10 people who are within that small startup business. Mostly could be friends, could be family, but they're also people who are working to advance your goal as a small business, and hence you need to focus on how to have a healthier workplace or work environment for them. So today's topic, it's just all about building a healthy workplace culture in a startup. It's more about caring deeply for other people who are working in your leadership mentor. So you always have to put them in your mind, always working around how to best put forth your leadership foot while maintaining a good relationship with your workers. So no startup succeeds without its people. And yet, in the rush to build the next big thing, secure funding, push out products, scale fast, we often overlook the most essential ingredient, which is the people we are working with. So we overlook the fact that these people are putting in there, or sometimes when you're starting up, you might not even have the funds to pay these people. You might not even have enough funds to pay them their worth, but they're helping you out as friends, as family, to build that business of yours. So you need to have that in mind, even as you're stepping up as a leader. You need to have a mentality of looking out for your workers and making sure they're in a healthy mental state, because most of the time we overlook the mental state of people just because they're smiling. Always have that interaction with them. One thing I always do, I have about 3 people who are working under me right now on the African Glow and Whispering Bloom. We have what we call a Tech 5 every 2 weeks, where we just relax, catch up, ask what's going on. Is work stressing you? Is there anything we can do to help release the stress and all that? So that has really worked in terms of mental stress and mental health, because a lot of people struggle with this. So it's always important to put this as a priority. Okay, so why does it matter? Workplace culture is not just something nice to have, it is the silent force that determines how your team thinks, feels, and functions. So the function of the team is dependent on their mental states. If somebody is stressed or is depressed, it could not even be related to work, but home issues. People go through a lot, so they could be stressed from home and having all these issues. It will definitely speak into your productivity and their productivity. They might not be as productive as you desire them to be because they're not in a good mental state, or good health, because they're overworking, they're overtired. So having a healthy culture is what retains talent. And when the money is low, it's what builds loyalty before you have benefits to offer. So once you have that good relationship with your co-workers, your juniors, as you're starting up and you know you cannot afford to pay them at the moment, just that having that genuine relationship of caring for them is enough benefit for them at that point, because they feel that you are a caring boss, a caring leader, and they would willingly want to work with you. So it's what happens. It's what helps your team stay up late, not from pressure, but from the purpose. Trying to drive your dream, trying to drive your business forward. So always put that into consideration whenever you're taking up a leadership role. So what we're going to cover here is simply going to understand what does people first really mean. We're also going to explore some strategies for building inclusive health environment. We'll tie all this into global impact, the sustainability development goals. Also share some actionable advice for HR professionals and startup funds. The people first model. I really enjoyed reading and practicing this model because it works so well, especially for startups. We have what we call the 5 pillars of the people first model, which is the first one being the psychological safety, which I've already alluded to. A culture where people can speak freely without fear of punishment or shame. Some leaders don't allow positive criticism from their colleagues or juniors at most. They want to think they're always right. They want to think they can never go wrong, or they can never say something wrong. And they like to implement an environment where no one else has a say, or they'll be shamed or punished because they've said something. But create that psychological safety. You can have what we call an anonymous box for your employees, so that they feel safe to express themselves and they don't feel afraid to say, if I put my name forth there, I might be fired, my salary might be cut, I might be removed from certain projects. So you can put a suggestion box in your office where people put forth their suggestions on how well you can serve them and how well you can lead them without them being compromised or looked at in a certain way. you can also set we're in a technology era. You can also set up let's say monthly surveys where you ask your people, are they happy? You can put up statistics on a scale of 1 to 5. How's the leadership in this company? On a scale of 1 to 5, what best are we serving you properly? Are you feeling safe? Do you see yourself working in this organization for the next 2 years? Just to have that perspective. So you can do this in every 2 months, every 1 month, just to have that safety net for everybody. And then the second pillar is transparent communication. Clarity over chaos. Always keep your people in the loop. Speak early, speak often, make them comfortable to speak to you. Have more of a open door policy. That way they are freely to talk to you and come to you with problems. And it's easier that way. It also goes both ways. Even employees, be transparent. If you feel something is wrong in an organization, speak up. Don't hold back. Try and speak up. You never know, you are the change that is required in that organization. And the third pillar is work-life balance. Of course, it can never be overstretched. Founders, listen, burnout is not a bandage of honor or a badge of honor. It's a business risk. When people are burnt out, their productivity is significantly low and they do not put up their best work. The quality of work is low and you end up losing business because your workers are overburnt, are overworked, and overwhelmed. So always find a life work balance. Have team building activities that makes them feel, relaxed and lose off the stress. Have a day or two of just go have play games as an organization as a way of a team building. That way your employees are motivated to even be more productive because they're not burnt out. The fourth pillar is fair pay and equal opportunities. Don't hire women for diversity. Empower them with decision making. So if you're going to hire women just because you want to be branded as a diverse business, that's the wrong idea. There are so many qualified women who are able to take the lead, who are able to come forth to the front and do the work. So hire women because you think they're qualified, you know that they can do the job and deliver, and do not just hire them for diversity's sake. Put them in positions of leadership, put them in positions of decision making so that you can actually see that change that you require, and not just because you feel it will be looked at as a company which is more diverse. And then lastly, international diversity and inclusion. So build a team where different voices are heard and valued, not just represented. So if you're like I was saying, if you hire women just to look diverse, or if you hire people of different disability just to look more diverse, it's wrong. You need to hire them and put them in positions where they can produce the work that you are hiring them for, not just for diversity. I've seen institutions where they've hired disabled people, they've hired women, and they're not putting them in positions where they're able to make decisions. They're not putting them in leadership roles where they can work and produce the work. So it's really, really about being intentional about your company and your goals. And then if we go to people management strategies for startups, of course, as a startup, as mentioned earlier, you have a small team to say. So how do we actually build this? So from day one, on board with culture, not just tasks. So explain, make them feel comfortable. It's the first time this employee is coming. Don't be tough. Have a smile on. Of course, some employees are coming from different backgrounds. You might have to teach these people how the work culture is at your workplace. You need to tell them this is an open plan office where you can just walk in, you can talk to the boss, you are free to do ABCD, you know. As the African Glow, one thing we have is flexible working hours. So they can work during the day, they can work during the night, as long as they produce the product. It doesn't really matter what time they are logging in for work. So that's one implementation we've made as the African Glow. Of course, it's an online store, so it's easier for people to do that. It might be different for a physical store or a physical business to have such a policy, but what you can implement is maybe, let's say, twice in a week people can work from home if your work allows that. If your type of business allows that, you can allow them to work from home for like 2-3 days, just to make them comfortable, make them feel relaxed. That way it motivates them to put out exceptional work. Of course, like we've said, create flexible policies that reflect trust in your people. Have a regular check-in that focuses on humans and not just KPIs. Of course, we want to hit the targets. We want to make the most. We want to meet our revenues, but keep the people in focus first. So always have check-ins that focuses on humans. Like I said, you can do it monthly, you can do it weekly, you can do it every 2 months, whatever works for you and your organization, but always check in. You can also have a connect. Maybe you can say every 1 month we'll have a meeting with all the departments if it's a large organization, and we're going to just check in. How are people feeling? Is there anything we can do better to improve your working environment? Is there anything better we can do to make your mental state more relaxed? And what are we doing wrong? Can you suggest some solutions to these problems? So that's a good one as well. Celebrate growth and not just performance. One of your co-workers, your junior workers, gets a degree, gets another certificate to their qualification. Put out there, on LinkedIn. Oh, we are happy to share that our assistant accountant is now qualified with ACC, he's now with SEMA, they have now obtained their master's degree. That motivates people to say, my organization actually cares about me. They care about my well-being, they care about my growth and not just my performance. Of course, the more people are motivated, the more they will improve their skills, the more they will learn more, and that will speak into the performance itself. So if someone is willing to learn, of course their performance will be greater because they're always expanding their knowledge and helping your business move forward. So celebrate others' growth and just don't keep quiet about it. You don't even, maybe you shouldn't post it if you don't have a LinkedIn page as a business, as an organization. But within an internal organization, when you're having your staff meeting, you can do a shout out. Hi, Jemima, you have attend your master's degree. Congratulations. We're proud of you as an organization. Keep working hard. That's a word is enough to motivate any person. Any person will feel proud and excited to be part of your organization because of this single thing. There's an organization I worked for, and they had that culture of recognition on celebrating growth. And trust me, the people I interacted with confirmed with me that they would rather stay at that organization even when they're offered a higher pay, because they felt safe, they felt appreciated, they felt celebrated, and they contemplated, say, if I leave this organization and go to this other organization offering me higher, I might not get the same recognition, I might not get the same celebration. I'm being celebrated, my growth is being appreciated. So it keeps people and not just focusing on performance. So always celebrate your employees at any chance you get. And then when it comes to supporting small businesses, now I know many startups have tiny teams, like mentioned earlier. No HR, maybe tiny budget, but even small teams need structure. Foster an organization, foster a connection, even a 15-minute week circle check-in, assign people to be a culture keeper, use tech to streamline admin so you focus on your people, and invest in mentorship. That's what the Women Ascension is doing right now. Like we're having this session, always mentorship for the employees, mentorship for the clients, mentorship for all stakeholders. So you can invest in mentorship as well. When it comes to advising for new HR profession, if you are new to HR in a startup, here's my take on this. Just a few take on it. Don't wait to be formal to be ethical. Like, you can always be ethical. If you have a connection with your colleague, it's easier for you to correct them when they do it wrong before you can even write that formal letter to them. Okay, so I think you can do better in this way. Speak up when things feels off. You are the heart of accountability. Develop everything, because clarity protects everyone. And above all, lead with empathy and not hierarchy. So apologies for the background noises if you're getting any feedback. And then we move to culture killers to watch out for in an organization. So usually in organization, we have what we call silent culture killers. Micromanaging. If you're a leader, do not micromanage people. If you have delegated the task, allow them the space to actually work on it and do their work. If you micromanage, they might not produce quality work that you're asking for, because they want to do the best, but you are there hovering over them. You're not allowing them the space to actually be creative and do their work. Poor boundaries. Create more excellent boundaries between your employees and yourself. Do not be a tough boss. Do not be a rigid boss where people cannot approach you for problems. People cannot approach you to talk about certain things they're not happy with, because you're always rigid, you're always too serious. You can have a conversation with your employees because they're scared that you might explode on them, or you might give a punishment towards them because they are talking about a certain thing. So always be open-minded and have good boundaries. Gossip and exclusion or exclusion. So this is a bad work culture, and it goes both ways. There should be that unity in the organization. Nobody should backbite another person. No space for feedback. This is a huge one where you have to look out as a leader, as an HR person, always have space for feedback. Because if I work with a supervisor and they're not willing to give me feedback, that speaks to my KPIs. Then that means I might not get progressed, I might not get promoted, and I might be stagnant because there's no feedback. I might also not know where to improve on if I'm working. For instance, the African Glow, if I don't tell my workers to say, okay, let's find another strategy of advertising or another platform of selling instead of just Facebook. We can explore Instagram, we can explore Facebook, or where I always every week for the admins on Facebook, they do so well. I would hear, hey, thank you so much for last week. As we can see from the insight, you're doing great. You're engaging with clients, you're doing ABCD. I appreciate you. That's good feedback. And you can also give positive criticism feedback. Oh, you did so well on this, but next time if you could at least, improvise and include ABCD into your work model, it will even be more perfect, because you're doing great already. But if you just include this, it will be perfect. So always have space for feedback. Rewarding results while ignoring disrespect. Some bosses tend to shout at their employees in front of everybody and treat them like they're their child. And people cannot take that disrespect. Yes, you paid me this much, but respect me as a human being. Do not insult me. I'm an adult as you. We have the same feelings. We're both humans. In as much as you do not want to be treated the way you're treating me, have respect for me, even though I'm a junior. So it goes to the leadership as well. If you're in a leadership role, have respect for others, those who are in juniors, no matter the age range, have respect for them. Do not treat them like like your assets or liabilities, where you can just discard them at any time. If you have an issue with an employee, it's best you invite them to your office and have a normal conversation with them, instead of in the staff meeting calling out people, calling out their, maybe they didn't perform so well on their work, and you're there shouting at them on top of your voice, saying, no, this work is not up to standards and whatnot. You can call them privately, have this conversation with them. You never know, they're going through a mental stress. So always have respect for one another. Culture dies in silence. Don't let that happen to your business or your organization as a leader. And then when it comes to women, I assume we have a lot of women here. And to my fellow women in leadership, we carry a unique power, emotional intelligence, and intuition collaboration. These are not soft skills. They are survival skills in today's world of work. Use them, champion them, and model them. I'll leave you with this. When you take care of your people, they take care of your vision. Startups are more than products, they are people with dreams, fears, and potentials. Let's build workplaces where people don't just survive, they thrive. And thank you so much. I've really enjoyed myself being part of this session. And let's get into the Q&A, and I'll be glad to answer questions that are available. Over to you, Jen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Natasha. That was absolutely really insightful strategies and advice that you have given to us. So the floor is open for questions. You can write them in the chat and maybe directly ask from Ms. Natasha as well. I think while they write their questions in the chat box, I have a question for you, Ms. Natasha. Now, you were talking about how respect is important between the employees and of the startup and the one who is leading the startup. While I also think that as important and integral respect is, I really think that trust is also very important to build in a team. So I want to ask you that what are some small and everyday actions that leader can, take to build the team trust between the team. It's his job to create that link and the bridge between him and the employee. So what are some of these small activities that they can, use?
Okay, thank you for that, Jannat. So, creating trust begins with making the employees comfortable with you, first of all. They say trust is earned. So, once a new employee comes in, you make them comfortable. Having an open door policy is one of the greatest way of creating that trust, because then they know that they can always walk to you and confide in you. The second point where you create trust is create activities outside workplace where you can unwind, they can be free with you. Of course, having boundaries, you as a leader, of course, they have to have that respect for you. But be free, have an outing. You can play games. You can always have people open up to you. You can, have a minute off, taking off time off work and having that relaxing moment. That creates trust, because then they feel comfortable with you, they feel you're open to them. Always have that environment where they feel safe, that way they can trust you. Thank you.
Very true. So there's one question in the chat box from Ms. Shukriya, and she's saying how to deal with people making trouble for others in the working environment.
Okay. So, how to deal with people making trouble for others in the working environment. Yeah, so this happens more often in organizations where we don't where the HR is not always intervening. Maybe like having sessions with we can have a ladies' day where they just a meeting talking about ladies' issues and how to respect each other. The gents as well can have a maybe another leader from the gentleman take that mantle up, because there are always people trying to discredit others. There's also rumors, gossips in an organization. So we have to maintain a certain specific professionalism between each other. Do not be too familiar with your colleagues. Do not talk about your too personal issues with your colleagues, and just have respect for one another. Create let's say disciplinary actions for those employees who are too troublesome. You can send out warning letters to them saying we don't tolerate this type of culture where you're disrespecting others, where you are spreading false gossip and things like that. Yeah, you can always discipline them. If it comes to an extreme, you might have to cut those people off, because it might start as an internal thing where they're discrediting others and acting badly to the internal people. It might extend to your clients, which will affect your business. So always have a boundary and a disciplinary rule. That's why we need to have a culture as an organization. Every organization needs to have a culture and run by that. Thank you.
Very true. Those who make trouble, they need to be disciplined on time. One question I have from you is that you have shared a lot of strategies and practices, that have that as individuals, as leaders, or as HRs, we can, use or inculcate in our practices to retain, talent in the company. So I want to ask you that uh, which strategies have helped you to retain talent in the in early stages of your company?
Okay, so in the early stages of your company, the strategies that you should focus on implementing is, first of all, having trust, having a safe space for your employees. As an HR, of course, when you're starting up, you are the CEO, you are the HR, you are the director, you are the main leader they look up to. So the first strategy you need to implement is respect within the organization. And then also you need to create an environment of appreciation. You need to appreciate your workers, because as a startup, you do not have enough financial backing to appreciate them financially, to say you increase their salary, their pay, you increase their benefits. You do not have that financial backing. So you can implement the culture of, appreciation, celebrating them, best employee of the month. It's an old culture, but it still works, best employee of the week. Such strategies, it doesn't have to be a financial appreciation. It can just be a word. You can always have, maybe if you have a WhatsApp group or a Teams group, as an organization of 10 or less than that, you can always want to appreciate. Hi, Nisha. I would like to thank you for last week's input. You really did a great job, and we appreciate you. And thank you for the input and the quality work. That's enough to motivate them to continue working. So that's one of the strategies that you can implement as a startup. I hope that helps.
Definitely. Appreciation and incentivization, I think, works at every level, every part of the life, whether you're still a student or you're working in an organization. So I think they're very integral in retaining talent, especially in the company. So Ms. Navini has a question. Ms. Navini, you can go ahead. Ms. Navini. Uh, while she fixes her issue with the mic or internet, maybe. We have two more questions in the chat box. And Ms. Nisha says that in your experience with Ms. Natasha, how do you think a strong organizational culture influences HR strategy, especially when it comes to attracting and retaining talent in fast-paced environments?
That's a very good question. So, how do you think a strong organization culture influences HR strategies? So, the basis of an organization is an HR. So the HR sources the best people to come into the organization. The HR helps to draft the organizational structure and culture, because they're the ones who drafts the do's and don'ts of the organization. So the whole basis of the HR strategies originates from the organization culture itself. So the organization has to have a well-focused and well-stimulated culture, where to say we need strong-minded people, we need to have a safe space, we need to have people who are willing to talk, people who are willing to facilitate and take up leadership roles, people who are willing to mentor others in the organization. And that's where that culture is created. And then the HR picks up that and puts that on the job description of each and every employee. So the heart of the organization is culture itself. So once the culture is established, the HR feeds off that. The HR picks those and then comes up with strategies of coming up with job description to put out to people, and the talent team as well. So they also come up with trainings that is required for other employees in order to acquaint them with the culture of the organizations. So as a new employee, the HR might recommend certain learnings or certain individuals who can coach you into that new position you're in, or train you. Even simple things as where the coffee machine is an organization culture. Simple thing as the organization provides tea for you, they provide ABC for you. That's also an organization structure. You might look at it as a trivial issue, but it's a very important part of the HR and organization culture.
I would just like to add one more thing, that I think working the culture is basically derived from the values or the mission of the organization. I think you will agree with this. So the culture is derived from that, and hence on the basis of that, it HR strategies are formed. So the next question is from Ms. Kanvi, and she says that environment plays a great role in any organization. And she says that how should we deal with the work politics? Because eventually they affect the motivation and the job satisfaction and those aspects of the job. So how should we deal with those?
Okay, so of course the environment is a great player. So as rightly stated, a great role in a positive environment. How can we deal with work politics? And we should, as an HR person, or you should always strive to remove this aspect of work politics. Then employees will feel fairly treated, because if there's a work politics, there will be favoritism. There will be those people you favor more than others. So you, as an HR person, you need to eliminate the work politics. As a leader, you need to focus on the quality of work. What are people actually producing quality work, and not favoring a person because you like them in a certain aspect, or because they are your friend, or because they are your relative. You need to give credit where credit is due, and you always have to progress or promote based on merit. Do not create an environment where people always feel they do not even have a chance to elevate, because there is all this politics and favoritism and nepotism and all that. So that's part of the silent killers we were talking about. So where there's so much politics that people don't feel that they'll ever elevate, because they're not liked, or they're not, favored by the boss, or they're not the boss's favorite person. So always create an organization where it's free and fair, and people are progressed on merit and credit, instead of politics, nepotism, and all this favoritism. I hope that helps.
Definitely helps. Yes. While the others might, write their questions in the group chat, in the chat box, I want to ask you that what are some of the common mistakes that an HR should, you know, not only HR but also the leader who is starting the company, who is starting the startup, uh, what are some of the mistakes that they should avoid, to basically to help to aid form a culture where people are, basically put first and not his needs, his or her needs.
Okay.
Mm.
So I'll just state a few, because I think we have already talked about others in the earlier slides.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
poor communication is one of them. Not keeping candidates or employees informed creates confusion, and can lead to low turnovers, can lead to demotivation, and people not doing their work because there's poor communication. Also, ignoring a company culture, hiring based solely on skills without considering the culture fit can lead to turnover. So, like I was stating when answering the culture question, the organization culture should feed into the HR's job when they're coming up with job description. They should consider their organization culture as one of them. Lack of proper documentation is also one of the mistakes HR fall prey to. Failing to document employee performance, for instance, or compliment or disciplinary action can cause legal issues. Another mistake is one-size-fits-all policy. Applying a rule too rigidly without considering individual circumstances can demotivate staff. So not everybody has the same issue. So you cannot solve the same different problems with the same issue, with the same solution. So always have different solutions to different problems. Another problem I could talk about is overlooking onboarding. So a weak onboarding process can lead to new hires confused and engaged. Like I said earlier, always have an open door policy where people can always ask questions, assign old employees to the new employees so that they can learn the culture of the organization, show them around, let them know what is going on. Always have people who are open-minded. Another one is delaying conflict resolution. Ignoring workplace conflict allows them to grow, also affecting morals and productivity of the company. So always try and resolve conflict as soon as possible, because it can even lead to people resigning if these conflicts are not resolved. A lot of people start quitting and resigning because they think this problem will never be solved because the HR is not looking into it. They might even accuse you of favoritism because you're not resolving the issue at hand and waiting for a negative impact to happen in order for you to resolve that as an HR person. Also bias in recruiting or promotion. So like we stated earlier, we need to kill the aspect of politics in an organization. Always hire on merit. Always hire people who are qualified to do the work, and not just because you have a relationship with that person. Always hire people who can deliver quality work. Lastly, lack of feedback mechanism, like we already talked about. Not providing or receiving feedback reduces opportunities to improve, because how would somebody improve if they don't know how they performed in that project, or how they performed on that paper, how they performed in a certain work aspect? So always give feedback. Positive criticism is always great because it allows people to improve on their work. Always compliment where the work is done well. So those are the few mistakes.
Okay. Yeah, they are very practical and very easy to follow. So thank you so much for that. I think there are no other questions, but so I'll take this last one, and then we'll wrap up the session. And Ms. Shukriya asks that, as an expert, what is your advice for those who start newly HR career?
Okay, so my advice for new HR career, you are the backbone of the organization. I always tell people in HR, my friends, I always tell them that they're the backbone of the organization. Any conflict that comes up, they have to pass through them. Any mistakes, anything, it goes to HR. Even when it comes to hiring, even for higher position, even hiring their bosses, it's HR. So you're the backbone of the organization. You need to make sure you have a proper focus strategy as you are in that position. Do not be a know-it-all. If you lack something, always read more, get more knowledge, attend conferences like this that expand your knowledge on your skills as an HR personnel. Always be open-minded. Problems come every day in different forms. Have different solutions for different problems. Interact with everybody. Do not be a rigid HR personnel. Always have an open door policy where people can easily talk to you and don't feel afraid. That way you have an oversight of what's really going on in the organization. You have an oversight of the next person you should hire and the qualities they should possess because you have all the information. So the biggest one is being open-minded. I hope that that suffices.
Truly think that does. Okay, so one last question, and that is from Miss Adnan Ahmed. Please, Miss Adnan, go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. I am audible, madam.
Yes, you are.
Okay. First of all, let me express my gratitude and thank you to all of you for organizing such a august gathering and webinar. We have learned very many things. Thank you to the speaker, the guest speaker. She had added a very new thing in our life, in our professional life. I am Adnan, working as a assistant professor in Helping Hand Institute of Rehabilitation, Abbottabad, Mansehra, Pakistan. Um we are dealing with HR, we are dealing with teamwork, we are dealing with the directors and other staff members also. I think there are many concepts which were misconception and some barrier were in my mind, which is clear after your webinar. Inshallah, the rest of the days it follows will not be the same. Let me add another thing for is the theme and the vision and mission of our group is the women education and empowerment. So every woman has the skills. First of all, if they are dealing with the in an organization with HR or with some other designated person, first of all, they have to learn, they have to increase the knowledge and skill, and then at a platform they can talk in a very decent way because the HR duty is just to bridge the employer and employees. But in some cases, because of the nepotism and favoritism, HR act like a boss, like you can say the dictating something or another, ignoring the culture killer thing which you have added in your webinar, which is very, very appreciated. The micromanagement is the main thing. If you work as a team member and organizational vision mission, we know about organization vision mission. So we can talk about the teamwork, we can talk about our contribution, we can talk about the adding the contribution. So that will minimize our tension. I think my suggestion, because I have experience of with the universities and I am experienced person a little bit in organization. So I think if we have knowledge and we have that applied knowledge, which is known as skill, it will create networking and the talking style. One should be a polite in organization because this is not our personal life; it is a professional life. Everyone should be polite, and that way, if there is a problem by HR or if there is a problem by minimizing our skill and our motivation, you can talk with any senior person in a good way, not complaining but adding your value. Thank you very much. Again, I am thankful to all of you to organize such a nice webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adnan, for your added insight. Yes, being nice and being respectful with each other within an organization and not just your manager or the leader in the organization. Yes, definitely that will help the overall organization and eventually, yes, it will create a culture that respects one another, that appreciates all of the people in it, and eventually, definitely, that will, cause the HR to improve themselves as well. So I really thank you for your added insight. Ms. Navini, do you want to add anything?
Hello,
Hello.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure being here once more again today. I wanted to thank Madam Natasha first. Thank you very much for what you are doing. It's very, very, very important for us as HR to understand and to get all this. You said something that I want us. Well, I want you to clarify I want to add a value there. When they start a startup or a business, we are all the manager, the HR, everything, the company. And then it takes a lot. It takes a lot to really be they want doing everything, the company, even hiring workers. And if somebody don't have all those skills, the person can't be able to really cope or manage all those posts. I wanted to ask, as a small business or as a small startup starting, managing all those posts and then still at the end of the day, applying all those skills on the field. At the end of the day, you have workers that are not even engaged or even able to promote the company to grow so that you can recruit. How do you comport yourself? How do you really comport yourself? And then number two, it's very frustrating when you hire people, you pay them, you hire them on base of their diploma, their competence. They show you that they are engaged. First 2-3 months, you send them on the field, they will go and do on their own, as acting as they are in competition with you. When I say you, it's the company. How do you deal with this type of people? Thank you.
Okay, very important question, and yeah, I do agree with you. Being in a position where you have to be in every leadership role as a startup can be overwhelming for you as well. So first of all, you have to set clear boundaries. You need to let those employees know that there are certain lines they cannot cross as you are the boss. And as they are part of the organization, it's their duty to promote the business. It's their duty to advance the organization. As the business grows, their pay increases as well, their careers advance as well. So you need to put that clearly when you're having meetings with your workers. You can have 2-3 people, but always try and motivate them. Of course, you as the owner of the business, you're always going to make sure that the business is high up there, the business is doing well, and that can have a mental toll on you because you're doing everything. Prioritize tasks. Use tools like to-do lists, digital planners, etc., just to stay focused on the most urgent and important tasks. Do not overstretch yourself where it's not necessary. You can also take breaks. You can take a day off. Of course, as entrepreneurs, we always say we can't take a day off, but for your own safety of your having a good mental state, you can take a day off to relax and rethink what strategies that will work best between you and your employees. Of course, there are always those stubborn employees that always want to drag you down and you drag your business down. Sometimes it's okay to let them go. It's okay to let them go. You don't have to keep such a toxic environment where it's affecting others because of this one particular individual. So where it's possible to let them go, let them go. And I always one thing I always advise, in as much as it's good to work with family when you're starting up because it's cheaper, it's very hard for you to have a type of boss and employee type of relationship with them because they're your relatives, and then it will be hard for you when you make certain decisions because they're not going to agree with you. Let's say you have a business with your sister is helping you, they will be there also trying to make decisions on your behalf. Those decisions might not be right, but that's because they are your sister. They might want to take over and take control and speak over you. So it's not easy working with family. So I always try and say, where you can avoid, try and avoid. It's difficult to work with relatives. So where you can avoid, try and avoid. Where it's inevitable, always try and create boundaries. draft simple contracts with them, where you say, yes, in as much as you're my sister, you're my brother, we need to have these boundaries to say, I'm the boss, I'm the one making the decisions, and we are trying to make this go forward. So if you're not in agreement, I would rather work with somebody who's not related to me. So set up these boundaries. Another thing is a reward and a reward system. Once they perform well, you can have a small reward for them. It doesn't have to be huge. A sort of recognition would help. Also, you can stay connected with everybody, just to try and have a one-on-one with the workers. What else can I help with? What's going on? Is this work too much stress on you? How can we best help reduce the stress and all that? Sometimes they're also stressed, that's why they feel like they're demotivated and they're not doing the work. So also try to collaborate with other small businesses. That way you have more insight and a more relaxed environment, because you're not the only one facing that. Also connect with groups like this, like the Women Ascension and other groups. Let's say whatever industry you are in as a small business, you can find 2-3 more people who are doing the same work, connect with them, get ideas from there and how they're handling the weight of being an HR, being a CEO and all that. That way it helps you also come up with new strategies of how to make this happen. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you very much, Natasha. Thank you for the added value. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Natasha. As I conclude today's session, having addressed all the questions, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude on behalf of Women Ascension and all the participants who joined here for sharing your insights and expertise with us. Your discussion on building healthy workplace cultures in startup was both enlightening and practical as well. The emphasis, on putting people first while balancing entrepreneurial growth and environmental well-being, organizational well-being, has given us valuable perspectives to stay ahead in our careers. So thank you so much for your insights and time today. We hope to have another session with you, Ms. Natasha, in the future. So thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you so much for having me. I'll be glad to host another session. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you so much.